Welcome back to the United Pubcast for the latest edition or latest instalment in the circus that is Manchester United. Got Josh, Pubcast regular, back with me. Just have a little bit of chat, Josh, before we went on air about another busy day at Man United in terms of the circus does continue, but ultimately nothing does change. We're still in sort of ground zero where we exactly started the day in regards to Glazer's still in charge. There's still no new signings and seems like a lot's happening, but at the end, when you break it down, nothing at all is happening. And that seems, in my opinion, is the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Look, it's been 72 hours since I was last on the podcast, and it feels like the next weekend already. It feels like everything has happened in the news. In essence, we're just literally in the same position that we were on Sunday night. Maybe a little bit more hot-headed after probably, getting the result out of our head over the weekend. But yeah, it feels like everything's happened with nothing eventuating.
Well, something needs to eventuate, and whatever that is, whether that be a new owner, whether that be a new signing, whether that be a player sold, whether that be 3 points on it's Tuesday morning for us here in Sydney. Obviously, a Monday night kickoff over in the UK. But I will say g'day, just some people in the live chat. Good to see you, Vin, as always. Adam was on with us the other day talking Jimmy Garner. Evening, lads. Left our business too late now. Going to have to panic buy, it seems. Look, you say that. Unfortunately, that might be the case. Whether these signings are true panic signings or they've been sort of plan B, plan C, which unfortunately we're in that position where they come up, who knows? But the sense definitely is there is a panic to it, which isn't where you want to be as Man United fans. Chris here saying, I asked Elon Musk to buy United on the 25th. He finally responded today and left our business late. Dead set they're worse than Woodward, which is my concern. I remember I had discussions with Larry when Richard Arnold took over a couple of months ago, and he was saying, I'm liking what I hear from Richard Arnold. I'm willing to give him a clean slate. I think things are changing. And I wanted to give Richard Arnold the benefit of the doubt. And I did enjoy whether it was PR, I think it was PR. I did enjoy the lines that we're getting, that there was a new direction and there was a new sort of perception around the sort of board and that football department and a little bit of restructure when Eric Ten Hag came in. However, I did have my concerns. I truly believe, now I don't know the people, but I truly believe Richard Arnold is cut from the same cloth as Ed Woodward. I think they went to the same university together in the same class. So I think they're very similar people, have very similar goals, and fair play to them in their own regard. But in regards to what Manchester United need, I'm still very sceptical on Richard Arnold. Will be fascinating to see there are obviously a lot of anger towards the Glazers, and rightly so at the moment. We're very interested to see what happens after this. If this transfer window continues to fail, when we look back at that meeting, Josh, where Richard Arnold met the fans at the pub, and he gave not just those 5 or 6 fans in that pub, he gave the Manchester United fan base around the world assurances that things were going to change. And ultimately, here we a couple of weeks later, Josh, and I don't want to say he hasn't been true to his word, but what we have seen, the evidence says he hasn't been true to his word.
Absolutely agree with you there. I mean, look, if we spin this back to the conversation we were having with the football capital on Sunday, from a football perspective, we said, look, the first 2 games of the season we've lost. Does Eric Ten Hag, does he throw away everything in terms of his philosophy and go back to basics? And we all agreed, no, stick by it. You've got a philosophy, stand by it. And turn us around to Richard Arnold. He had this meeting in the pub a couple of months ago. Says, we're not going to throw money at players, but we don't need it. That's never worked in the past. But the fact of the matter is, United aren't not buying players over the odds. They're throwing money and getting rejected. It's like he's backtracked on everything that he said to those guys in the pub, and literally doing everything that Woodward used to do and failing by not getting players.
Bring Woodward back. He might put a smile on our faces. But I'll just say good day to 1 or 2 more people in the live chat before we do kick on with the discussion. But Matt, good to see you, mate. Let us know if you come to Scruffy's on Saturday week. Be good to catch up with you again. Hope all is well. George here. Evening, lads. I don't like being negative, but there is nothing positive about our club at the moment. Feels like we're a 3rd-tier football club waiting for a Kickstarter campaign, and it's definitely hard to disagree, especially when you do, and not that Brentford or Brighton are 3rd tier, but in terms of comparing Manchester United to those clubs, and when you see what they do to us on the pitch, it does have a feeling that they're down to it feels like a championship club type thing. But Chris here saying incoming Fellaini on deadline day. I do like a deadline day signing, Josh, no matter how bad it is. Even if it's a bad signing, there is something about the excitement watching that clock tick down and the news come through. And good to see he Matt will be with us at Scruffy Murphy's for that Southampton match. And Wes, good to see you, mate, as always, and there's just a comment here from Vin, a nice little bit of a segue, which we'll get into. The title is about Cristiano Ronaldo and the story around him, but Vin reminds us in regards to Elon Musk. We'll start on that while the live chat does build up. So get your thoughts in the comments for us to discuss in and around Elon Musk, and we will touch on the Ronaldo debate in a few minutes. But look, I've lost track of the timeline, Josh. I woke up, let's say it was 12 hours ago. Elon Musk puts out a tweet, and this is when everyone in England is going to bed. Puts out a tweet saying, "Oh, by the way, I'm buying Manchester United." When I first read that, I thought, okay, yeah, no, this is what he does. He does this quite often in terms of different businesses and a bit of a Twitter troll. Now, obviously, he has the money to back it up. I can't say I'm going to go and buy Manchester United because I don't have the funds to do it. Elon Musk is one of the few people in the world who can do that. But I thought nothing. I thought it was literally just a joke. I didn't even need the sarcastic font or anything. I thought, okay, maybe one or two kids will run with it and have a bit of banter sort of thing. Everyone ran with it. Like, it was global news. All the reliable, so the New York Times talking about and everything. And apparently it's impacted the share price. Who knows how it's going to impact that? Ultimately, about 6-7 hours later, he came out, said, no, it's just a bit of a joke I do on Twitter. Now everything's sort of died down. But just your thoughts on it. Did you have the same sort of instinct as me, or did you think there was, because there has been talk about the Glazers in terms of potentially selling. Now, there's always that talk, but there's definitely momentum in that area. Just your thoughts on everything. I don't want to say he's not part of Manchester United, but just adds fuel to the fire, adds more drama to the circus.
I'm kind of hoping he sort of ran with it for a few days. It probably would have helped to sign a few players, if we're being honest. But no, I think it was always a joke. He's an erratic guy, isn't he? I mean, look what he named his kid. That just shows how erratic he is. But it's interesting to see, because you obviously know it's rubbish, but it's funny to see what, some of the articles that are coming out in terms of what would actually happen if he did buy United, how those funds would break down. And it's quite like an interesting read, really. I think what is he worth, like 20 billion or something? And then the cost of like buying United, how that would incorporate the differences between the Glazers. It was an interesting read, but eventually it's just a bit of a piss take, really, isn't it? And it sort of shows the state of the club at the moment, really. Everyone's sort of having a laugh at ours expense, including probably the world's richest man.
On Elon Musk, in regards to it, we talk about Man United and big names coming into the club, like Paul Pogba, Cristiano Ronaldo, and we always see, okay, these players, not that they are, but there's a narrative sometimes, they're treated bigger than the club sort of thing. Now, Elon Musk, like, okay, yes, he's a celebrity, but you don't really put these financial people in that celebrity category. Now, obviously, he is a huge celebrity, but he's not a rock star or a football player or an athlete or something like that. But he does come with this sort of, I don't want to say baggage, but everyone knows who he is sort of thing. Now, even if he had good intentions, do you think, and he had good intentions, he's going to build a new stadium, he's going to invest in the team, he's going to restructure the football club, but ultimately it'd be this sort of cloud hanging over Old Trafford, and all the attention would be on him, and he'd almost be treated bigger than the club. You look at his sort of Instagram and Twitter following sort of thing. So do you think, now Elon Musk isn't buying Manchester United, but hypothetically, if a person like him was to come in with the right intentions and the right money, do you still think, if just the persona and the baggage that would come with that type of person, it would almost not worth it? Obviously, we do want to get rid of the Glazers, but it wouldn't be as good as people do think?
Look, you never know what's going to happen until it actually happens, but based on his personality, look, he's an eccentric personality, as a lot of owners are. I mean, look, the media only portrays him so much. You watch, these all or nothing documentaries, and you get insight into like the owners and the chief executives of clubs, and you see their personality, and you think, you know what, is it for cameras? But Elon Musk is a personality, and what that brings to the club, you're never going to know. I think at the moment, I've seen a lot of tweets today saying, I don't care, anything's better than the Glazers in that respect. I'll take anyone at this stage. I take the leader. I take anyone. I take a dictator, Tom. I take anyone who's better than the Glazers.
But that is the thing. I think it wasn't the article you referred to, but it was an article of no one's leading this race to buy Manchester United at the moment. At the moment, the Glazers aren't selling the club. But they're saying if someone was to come in, likely candidates, there was, the name escapes me of it, but it's a New York investment firm. I'm just thinking, okay, they've got the funds to come in, some type of consortium. They can come in and get the business done and deal done, and they can buy the Glazers share and then have a control and stake of the club. But I look at it and think, well, do we want them in? Like, who's to say they're not going to be Glazers? So yes, we're 100% Glazers out, get rid of them. Yes, we do need new owners. The very few people or the very few groups who can buy Manchester United I don't want to sort of label everyone, but a large chunk of those, in my opinion, are probably very similar-minded to the Glazers. So I'm just thinking there's a very good chance. And who are the Glazers going to sell to? Let's say the Glazers have two offers on the table. One's Elon Musk, who says, I want to do everything for Man United and their fans. And one is an investment firm who's just literally about the money. The Glazers are the ones who get to choose who to accept the bid from. So I'm just thinking there is a very real possibility, in my opinion, unfortunately. Now, this is not me saying keep the Glazers. It's the last thing I want. But there's a very real chance that we get the same owners or even worse owners.
Look, as I said, look, you're never going to know what's happening until it happens. And I think the Glazers are so bad that initially whoever comes in next, it'll be heaven. And then it will be the 6, 7, 8 months after that where the real intentions will start to pan out. We'll have 1 or 2 transfer windows that are coming after, out of place after that. And then they can really be judged. But look, at the moment, I don't even think it's like the ownership putting money. I think with United, it's now got to the stage where we can't even negotiate with players, and that's just due to our reputation over the past 4, 5, 6 years. The Glazers are a massive problem and always will be, but I think it's deeper than that. The psychology of not succeeding, the psychology of being rinsed off money for players and overcharged. We talked about the dangers of this 2 or 3 years ago, and it was kind of shrugged off because we got these players for great money, and then eventually they left for nothing. And now we're really seeing the psychological effects of that. Teams are, charging over the odds, and it's kind of overshadowed other teams and allowed them to sort of progress within the market. Look at Arsenal this year; they've done their business sort of silently and got the players they wanted. And I think United. I was going to chat with my granddad, and he goes, "This reminds me of Liverpool 25 years ago."
Liverpool fans say that. Liverpool fans say,
yeah, it took them 25 years to get out of it. And I think with United, I worry at the moment with the infrastructure and the ownership and the reputation we have at the moment for signing players. I think it could be longer than 25 years.
Well, not the good thing, but the positive I would put on that, unfortunately, is we're already halfway there. It has been a while already in terms of waiting, so it's not 25 years from now. We're already 10, 12 years into this downfall, so only half. We've just got to relive it one more time, and then things can turn around. But we will get on to Cristiano Ronaldo news, so please do leave a like on the video if you are enjoying the little bit of a chat. And if you are new, please do hit that subscribe button. That would be great. But we will sort of move on to the Cristiano Ronaldo news, because here we are been speaking for 15 minutes about Elon Musk, who has nothing to do with Manchester United. But here we are. That is the state we are in as a fan base at the moment. But Cristiano Ronaldo, in regards to, I don't know how this story came about. I've got his comments here in regards to an Instagram post. He's commented on someone else's post. I think he follows a few sort of Ronaldo fan pages and Ronaldo news. I don't know if they're outlets, but Ronaldo news Instagram pages. He follows a few of those, and he's left a comment on one of them saying, I'm not sure what the post referred to, but it comes across as Ronaldo replied in the comments saying, they know the truth when they interview in a couple of weeks. The media is telling lies. I have a notebook, and in the last few months of the 100 news I made, only 5 were right. Imagine how it is. Stick with that tip, so bear that in mind. There's so much that I say, so make sure you get your thoughts in the live chat, because this will definitely sort of, I think, opinions will differ. And it's obviously, whenever we talk Cristiano Ronaldo, it's a very emotional subject and people get rolled up, and I can understand, and it's rightly so. But when you hear that, Josh, there's a few avenues I want to sort of go down in regards to. First, I'm interested to see what he says. 2, I'm thinking we'll say it now. Like that's probably my criticism of him. And now everyone knows I'm a big fan of Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm not sort of taking his side of the club side, but I do want to hear his side and sort of backing him more than a few people are. But say it now. Now, there could be contractual things. My main sort of concern and criticism is why he's not doing it now is, well, is he waiting to, if a worst case scenario and he doesn't get his move, okay, that's going to alter what he says and he doesn't tell the truth, or if he gets his move, then he is going to tell the truth. That is my concern and my criticism of Ronaldo holding out on the news at the moment. However, there could be contractual things, negotiating point of view from him and his agent, and United's point of view. Probably best for him to keep his mouth shut, so completely understandable from that side of things. But just your thoughts when this came out, because in my opinion, I've always been along the lines of, now he's got his numbers there. He said he's got it in a notebook, so there's been 100 stories, 95 of them are fake. I have always gone down the lines that, yes, a huge percentage of the stories around Cristiano Ronaldo are just fabrication, just nonsense. They've put out for certain reasons by different outlets for whatever reason they may be. Now, Cristiano Ronaldo feels the same way. Now, who's to say he's telling the truth? He's going to give his side in a couple of weeks. Just your thoughts on this one, because there are a few sort of angles we can look at this.
look, I think whatever comes out, I don't think anyone's going to be happy with it. Personally, I think if he comes out, after a week or 2 weeks and says, look, he's always wanted to stay, I don't think anyone's buying that. I mean, if that is the case, why not say it now and end this mess? We've got off to a disastrous start to the season. No one, the morals of the team is clearly very, very low. Why not end this? Why wait 2 weeks unless he's leaving?
I think he'd be honest. I think he'd be honest in regards to. I think it's very clear he does want out. I think the stories are more so in regards to. I think the main one, him not being at pre-season. I think more and more sort of people close to Portugal and even some of the Madrid camps saying there was an issue with his family potentially. Now, obviously, that added fuel to fire that he did want to move. He did want that leave, but apparently there is something family. And look, he lost a kid a couple of months ago. If he wanted a few weeks at home, in my opinion, I'm not going to stand in his way. But also, in regards to training ground, to the bust-ups, and he's walking around, kicking around cones and emptying Eric Ten Hag's water bottles at training, wasting time, kicking balls over the fence. That's not happening. But that's been written about him. And I'm just thinking, in my opinion, that's what he wants to address. Not that he wants to stay all that. Maybe he does, and we could see through those potential lies if he is saying, no, I always wanted to stay at Man United, because we know that's not the case. However, that is what I think he wants to address, because he is, in my opinion, and disagree with me, Josh, but he's been hung out to dry. I think people we talk about dressing room leaks, you look at whether it be a Marcus Rashford, a Scott McTominay, or a Harry Maguire, they've got obviously very strong relationships with some of the English media. We're not talking about bad performances from them. We're talking about Cristiano Ronaldo, and does he love the club? And that is where our focus, and that's where our anger, and that is where our attention is. And I just think there's been so much sort of deflecting from our real problems on Ronaldo's shoulders. And I don't think any player, because we talk about treating these players equally, no one's bigger than the club, but we put the burden on Cristiano Ronaldo as if he is bigger than the club. And I think he's only human. He can sort of hold a lot of pressure, but I think it sort of is getting to him a little bit.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't be surprised if he's done a little bit of the Wagger for Christie thing with which you just seen recently with Rebecca Vardy and Colleen Rooney, where he's just planted the story and maybe one of the teams that showed, look, every club has a leak. It's happened at City, It's happened at United in the past. I think it was very rampant at United in the earliest days, around about 2006, when we were going through a real bit of an unsuccessful season. There was stuff being leaked out to the press, and Fergie got to the bottom of it. And I think there is an element of that. I mean, some of the stories you're hearing, not getting on with players, sitting on his own at lunch, and outings and food outings as well. It's just a little bit tit for tat, and it's got to stop. And I don't know if he wants to clear up those sorts of rumours, but it's just a mess, and I just don't see it getting better. Whatever the outcome is, whatever he comes out and says, it's not going to have a positive impact on the team. It do well not to get a negative impact on the team.
Do you think? I remember his interview when it was pretty early in his return. I think he had to sit down with Sky Sports, or I don't think it was with MUTV. It was a sit down with Sky Sports, I believe, pretty early on his return, and he didn't throw any names out there. Now we put two and two together. We're pretty sure at the time he was talking about Marcus Rashford and Mason Greenwood. He was talking about young attackers, and they were in the team. And he was saying he didn't name names, but we kind of guessed who it was, that they didn't sort of like being told what to do, and they didn't like instruction. They didn't like sort of constructive criticism, and they thought they were the bee's knees. And do you think that is potential? We've talked about honesty, and we've talked about Ralph Rangnick and how he exposed a few things, and how what he said has proven true, what Jose Mourinho said and how that has been proven true. Do you think it's potentially Ronaldo, even if he is to leave now, maybe it's more likely of the proper truth to come out if he is to leave, to really talk about the club and say, hang on, this is why this club is failing? Do you think that is potentially an avenue he does want to address?
Maybe. I mean, look, he's only going to be telling the world stuff that we suspect happening. Look, the club has lacked leadership for a long, long time. You look at this, and I don't just think this is United. I think this is just young players now in general. There's that lack of discipline. The old sort of disciplined football club of grafting, doing extra training sessions, doing extra work on the pitch. It's different times that we're living in, and I think now it's more about, we talk more, football's all talks about as like natural talent. There's nothing working towards success or anything. Yeah, they have the training, but it's a different game now than it was. And I hate that cliche, it's a different game, but it is. And Ronaldo's coming back to a team which was so high. He's come back to a team which the last time he was there was so high on success. Our most successful period when he left the club. They were disciplined. When they won trophies, it was all about when we win the next trophy. I guarantee when we win our next trophy be at the FA Cup, there'll probably be a trophy parade. I mean, laugh about how embarrassing that was.
I'll take a parade.
It will be. It'll be we'll have a trophy parade because it's been that long, and winning trophies is not an ingrained mentality, unfortunately, in our club anymore. And I'm sorry about the negativity, but that's the case.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. Just a few comments in regards to Ronaldo discussion here. Matt saying, guy's the greatest player in the world, doesn't get the respect he deserves. I'm at the stage, Josh, where I feel like in regards to, I relate it back to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in terms of the way, and look, this happens in whatever field, especially in sport, but in celebrity as well. We build these people up. Look at Solskjaer when he came in, we built him up to this godlike level, rightly so after the form we're in, only to shoot him down. You look at the return we gave Cristiano Ronaldo, both the club and the media, especially from the media side of things. The reason they do that is so they can shoot him down in a year or two's time, and now here that time has come. So I think
our fans are the same, Tom, though, as well. That's what we always say.
That's what annoys me.
The championship will get rid of half the fans, and I can't wait.
No, you don't need to convince me about a season in the championship, but that is where I sorry, that's where I lean to. Look, I'd like Cristiano Ronaldo to stay because he obviously makes us a far better team and it increases our chances of winning. But ultimately, I'll maybe lean into the side of get rid of him now because he's definitely not going to tarnish his legacy. But the abuse he's getting, and as Matt says, the disrespect that he's getting. Now he has shown definitely a sign of disrespect towards the fans, no doubt, no hiding from that. But all our great players have done that at times, unfortunately, which we don't like to admit. But at the moment, Ronaldo's obviously public enemy number one, but in my opinion, he does deserve a little bit more respect because we talk, as I said, we talk about these players, no one's bigger than the club, treat everyone equal, hold everyone to the same standard. But the people saying that, which I agree with, but the people saying that hold Ronaldo to a different standard. I'm thinking, well, hang on. Does Ronaldo deserve that? Or shouldn't every player deserve the same type of treatment?
Yeah, look, we have this conversation. If this was Harry Maguire or if this was Luke Shaw, it'd be a different story. You know, he wouldn't see it, he'd be ridiculed. And look, he is getting ridiculed. He's copping his fair share of abuse. Prime example of that is I don't agree at all with not clapping the away fans. Any game, if you lose 7-0 against Liverpool, clap the fans.
Yeah. Oh, look, it definitely doesn't help himself.
Games where we've lost 2 or 3-0. I remember Spurs at Wembley when we were playing at Wembley. We lost 2-0. I think I missed the first goal. I was getting a beer still. I missed the first goal, and at the end of the game, it was probably one of the worst games I've seen. At the end, they all clapped the player except for I think it was Lukaku didn't clap the players, and he copped it. Was
that Ericsson who scored that goal that you missed?
Yeah.
There we go. We'll come full circle.
Well, look into in terms of that, he's going to cop his fair share, and I think if it's a different player, they probably cop it a lot more than he does. And I think for me, he still, whatever happens this season, he still retains that legend-like status for me. Look, we're fortunate enough to have lived when United were our most successful, where, look, we're getting introduced now to a lot of fans in our circle that probably don't remember the success and resonate for United now with our most unsuccessful period in a long time. And that's just the case of football. It's like, speak to my granddad, and he's only ever supported United for his first 20, 30 years. He obviously had the success in the 50s and the 60s, but after that, that's 25 years of unsuccessful football.
No, look, it's part of football. And look, I don't enjoy this dip in football. It's not even a dip. It's a generation of sort of bad form. However, there is a part of me that does enjoy it because I was so spoilt as a kid, so spoilt growing up watching Fergie and those teams. When those times do come back, and I believe at some stage they will come back, they will be more sort of special. They will feel better after this bad form I've been in. There was a time now, not that I didn't celebrate Premier League title wins or trophies or goals during the early 2000s, but you won a Premier League, it was, okay, that's good. But it wasn't. Now if we win a Premier League, I'd say there'll be parades, and rightly so. And I think it is very important part of being a fan to deal with these situations and sort of get through them. But just one or two more comments here before we do wrap up, because my phone is ringing. I'll call that person back in a little bit. But Viking here saying, good to see you, mate. Journalists are traitors to humanity. They have access to inside knowledge and they profit from keeping others in the dark, not just football. It looked definitely a dirty world in regards to journalism. There's a comment here a little bit earlier just from, I think it was from Chris here. I hope he calls out the media and the journos writing crap. It will be fascinating to see what this notebook looks like. I want him to come out and do this interview by almost like Donald Trump style, like get something out and go through the bits of paper sort of thing. And not who was the football manager? Who was the Facts, Rafa Benitez.
I always love the one where Steve Bruce has a go at a journalist at Newcastle. He's like, "You wrote that."
Which one is it?
You wrote that, and he's just like, "No, I didn't." He's like, "Yeah, you did. You wrote it."
Well, I think a lot of journalists as well, who have put their name to stuff in terms of trying to bring Ronaldo down, and look, that's their prerogative. That sells papers, as a lot of people in the live chat have said. It'll be very interesting. Look, I'm sure Ronaldo's not going to be sort of naming journalists and sort of going through individual stories. That definitely won't be the case. However, a few journalists will be on, oh, geez, hang on, hopefully he doesn't name me. What did I write about? And let's retract on these statements. I wouldn't be surprised if one or two sort of journalists who have been quite critical of him come out with a positive Ronaldo story in the next couple of days. But we will move on to probably the last bit of the topic, the show tonight. As you can see from the bottom banner, scrolling along the bottom, Casemiro to Manchester United. Josh, I saw through this one the moment I saw the name Casemiro. This is not happening. Manchester United are not signing Casemiro. Now, if he signs tomorrow, fantastic. What a player. I actually really rate him as a player. How could you not? What he's achieved at Real Madrid. And he's still only, I think he's 30. From memory, he probably seems a little bit older, but I think he went to Madrid quite young. So 30. So look, what a fantastic signing he'll be. There is no chance. First of all, the cheek of Manchester United going to Real Madrid and thinking we can get Casemiro. Simply, that's not going to happen. Now, if Real Madrid is stupid enough to sell, now people could say, well, they sold us Varane. Who knows? Maybe they know something about Casemiro that we don't know. However, it's not happening for a few reasons. One, Casemiro is not coming to Manchester United. He's a star. He's probably not the star, but in regards to the way that team functions, he's a star midfielder for the European champions. He's going to continue to play there in the Champions League in sunny Madrid rather than come and play in Europa League football in Manchester. So Casemiro is not coming to Man United. We can't get deals across the line for Rabiot. We can't pay enough for Rabiot in terms of that deal has fallen through in regards to his wages. You put the whole Rabiot package together, Casemiro's transfer fee is going to cost more in one payment than the whole package over 4 years would cost for Rabiot. Like, what would Rabiot earn over a contract? 15 million pound transfer fee and say 30 million in wages. Casemiro is going to cost 50 million pounds in cash on the day. So Casemiro, we don't have the money for if we can't afford Rabiot. So I'm just thinking there are so many things this deal cannot come true. Is it Man United going to one last play for Frankie de Jong? Let's go to Barcelona's rivals and say, here, we'll give you the money for our midfield. And maybe that sort of prompts Barcelona into a little bit of an action into accepting something from Manchester United in regards to de Jong. I doubt it. I don't think Man United work like that, but it potentially could be. But just your thoughts on it, because at the end of the day, look, we are linked to a lot of players, but Casemiro is a big name. Starting midfielder for Real Madrid would obviously make Manchester United far stronger, but it's just a name for me, just thrown out there.
Yeah, look, it's a massive name to be linked to, especially after the desperation of getting rejected, probably from Frankie de Jong, from Rabiot. Obviously, we're not meeting his wage demands. What I will say about Casemiro, he's unreal. I think back at some individual performances against United when we played Real Madrid. Obviously, Ronaldo in 2003 when he scored the hat-trick at Old Trafford. But most people don't remember this, but the Super Cup final in 2017, I was fortunate enough to be at the game, and Casemiro pulled out a worldy 10 out of 10 performance against us. I think he scored the first goal. And I think with Mourinho, when I think it was his first game, his first competitive game managing us, he said after, his second season, sorry.
Yeah,
they don't make replicas of Casemiro. And he's spot on. Yeah. I mean, look, he's, I think he averages, I looked at his stats before actually, I think he averages like a goal every 10 games for like a defensive midfielder. What's he played, like 200 odd games now for Madrid? 20 odd goals.
He's been there a while, yeah.
Yeah. Look, he's a great signing, but there's no way he'd move to United. And if he did move to United, you can't question why, because not only is he going to be playing Europa League football this year, I don't think he's good enough to make us not play Europa League football for probably the next 1 or 2 years after that.
There's a comment here, and look, you're probably right on there, but Viking here saying, remember Real Madrid had Camavinga and Tchouaméni now, which is an interesting point we're talking about from Casemiro's point of view, and what does he want? There is point, and as I said, Casemiro is not old; he's only 30 years old, and he's still performing at the highest level. But could Real Madrid potentially, if Man United have a bumper offer, and say 50, 60 million, whatever it potentially could cost, could you see Real Madrid saying, okay, or not the deal eventuating, but Real Madrid accepting a bid at least?
Well, look, have Camavinga and the other player, have they made him a better player as a result of signing for Real Madrid? I don't think so. I mean, you look at his stats last season. Scored less goals, played probably a similar amount of games. I don't think he made as much of an impact as the season before. But look, there's no denying he's still a quality player, and he's quality enough to still be getting picked week in, week out for Real Madrid. Played a huge part, obviously, in the Champions League final as well against Liverpool. It's a no-go for me. It's a stupid statement. On a side note, though, you did mention Barcelona at the start of that with Frankie de Jong. Anyone in the comments, free to give me a call after this, because I just don't understand how they sign the players they have. I really don't understand it. I don't understand how a team that can't afford to pay someone's wages, and there's so much legalities in everything they're doing at the moment, have pretty much pulled off probably one of the best transfer windows.
That is where I look at Frankie de Jong, and look, understandably, what's holding him there at the moment, he's owed wages, and not just wages, he's owed £17 million in wages. So obviously I can understand he's well within his right to stay there 100%. However, in regards to him saying he has this respect for Barcelona and his loyalty to Barcelona, why? If they're going out and they owe him that money, and instead of paying him what he is owed, and he did that out of the goodness of his own heart during the pandemic, not paying Frankie de Jong what he is owed, and instead using that money to go and splash the cash on all these new fancy toys, Frankie de Jong should have no respect and sort of admiration towards Barcelona. Now, yes, he's there for them. I don't want to say this in a critical way. He's there for the money at the moment, and rightly so, in my opinion. But in regards to if he is able to sort that deal out and get his money, he should be first out the door, because Barcelona have showed Frankie de Jong no respect at all.
Absolutely not. I mean, look, he's playing centre-back when in the pre-season friendlies, and if I'm being honest, when a season, I know they've already had a game in the league, when it gets properly up and running, you can't see him consistently starting every game, because they've obviously prioritised signing up players and looking to get him out the door. And I think the manager's obviously got sent a message from the board as well to reflect that statement.
Yeah, look, my opinion, Larry and I sat in a pub a couple of weeks ago, said Frankie de Jong's going to sign before the end of the week. That was a couple of months ago. That obviously never happened. As things stand now, look, I said a couple of weeks ago, I drew a line under it for me. If he is to leave, he's going to Chelsea for me. I do not see how Manchester United get this done. But his name's going to dominate the headlines for the next 2 weeks or whenever the transfer window closes. At the moment where you sit there, he's not a Man United player in a couple of weeks, is he?
Absolutely not, no. And neither's Casemiro, neither's Ruben Neves, neither's Yuri Telemans. We're not signing anyone.
You say yes, and I had the same. I had the same feeling.
Can't wait for a deadline day for Fellaini. I'll take Fellaini.
Yeah, no. We're talking. You see those? I'm just get your thoughts in the live chat here. We'll maybe wrap up on this chat here. I see. Vikanisa, I wish the stream could go a little bit longer. I wish to, but I've got a 5 a.m. alarm for work tomorrow, so I do need a little bit of sleep. But in regards to that, you talk about Marouane Fellaini, and two things. We'll talk about the Sky Sports Monday Night Football. They ranked Man United signings post Fergie, had the major signings into green, amber, and red. They're all in red. There was like 3 or 4 ambers and only 2 successful signings, which we'll get into in a sec. But you mentioned there, we're not signing anyone. Now, I've said the same thing. We're not signing anyone. We're going to sign someone. But are you joking or are you serious? Can you see a situation where we don't sign a midfielder?
Absolutely. I mean...
Oh, Jesus, Josh.
Honestly.
I feel like that, oh, yeah, we're not going to sign anyone. But I think, no, at the end of the day, we're going to bring someone in. It might not be good enough signing, but we're bringing someone in, surely.
Why? Because we need...
They'll find someone. They'll say, come and hold the shirt up. Surely... They can't do it. Even if it's a bad signing, they're going to bring someone in, surely.
I mean, look, you'd hope, but...
And that might be the wrong thing. If it's not the right signing, bringing someone in for the sake of it would be the wrong thing. But I'm just thinking, surely Erik ten Hag can find someone, even if it's a youth player from Ajax, loan him over. So surely a body is coming. I can't see a situation where that doesn't happen.
Well, that's what I don't get with United. I mean, they're not getting the players they want. Why don't they utilise like a loan deal?
Well, that was Borche was saying the other day in terms of especially.
One thing I never understood was this Connor Cody, like Wolves captain. Yeah. I can't believe he's managed to go out on loan. I don't understand that. Like he's the consistent starter for Wolves, the mainstay of their centre backs, and he's just got a loan deal to Everton. I can't believe they've allowed that, because let's face it, I mean, Wolves are probably on a bit more of a superior level to Everton, really, if you look at the quality of the team.
Well, but Borche made a point the other day in regards to, I forget if it was Frankie de Jong specific or just in general, but let's use this for Frankie de Jong specifically. why not just loan him for a year? Loan with an option to buy. Okay, come here, Frankie. Have a season away from me. We'll still fight in your corner for those wages at Barcelona. If you like it here after a year and you get back in the Champions League, here, we'll buy you. You can stay here if you want. If not, you go back to Barcelona and you can collect your wages. Could you see a situation? It sounds stupid, Manchester United loaning players, but the situation we're in, the situation Frankie de Jong's in, it doesn't make sort of horrible sense. You can kind of put your head around it.
Not at all. I don't understand why we don't utilise. I mean, look, United have gone past the stage where we're not. You used to think loaning players it's a bit beneath United. We should be signing players, but yes, at the end of the day, it's not. We're not beneath it anymore. We're far more inferior than what we used to be. It's a thing that is going to be a little bit more common now for United. We're going to have to utilise avenues like that because let's face it, we're getting rinsed out of money for players. They've identified that, and we're literally going back to the laurels that we're so used to doing, where we try and fork out over the odds money for players that, in essence, we probably really can't afford, and end up getting zero output from it.
Well, there's a comment here, George.
If you loan him, he's starting every game unless he's injured.
Oh, no, he walks into our midfield. He can play centre-back for us, potentially. But George here is saying that list is a job. That's my next point, just to wrap up the pod in regards to that list. But there's one more comment from Adam here, which is an interesting one. I think we definitely sign a midfielder. I think Casemiro is who we get. Obviously played against Brighton the other day. But I'm just thinking that one, while I welcome the play, is obviously a good player, done very well at Brighton, and obviously he'd definitely walk into our midfield and improve us from the little bit I have seen of him. That deal, though, would kill me. Just in regards to, it proves everything that is wrong with Man United. We could have got him from South America when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was in charge. He was the midfielder. Solskjaer was apparently sent a few scouts over to South America. I think he might have been playing in Ecuador from memory, or maybe Brazil, I forget. Getting it was 4 or 5 million or something. I think he went to Brighton for £5 million or something. And now if we're to go in and get him from Brighton now, I assume it's going to be £55 million. So while I'd welcome the player, I think, my God, that sums everything. We had our chance to go get him for $5 million, and to go and spend another $50 million 2 years later, just shocking business.
The past 72 hours, I know the past 3 or 4 months has been shocking, but the past 72 hours, I mean, you talk about that philosophy and mindset of, signing players 3 years later for 20 times as much as you could have originally got them. And we talked with Borche last podcast saying, United need to make that statement where we need to sell a player. Yeah. And then the player you see transfer listed, James Garner, you're like, yeah, not that one. Anyone but him. Anyone with the player with the most potential to really... He's not Frankie de Jong, but he could be as good as Frankie de Jong in a couple of years' time with the right nurturing and development. But loan him to Forest or something again and get him Premier League experience. Jesus Christ, no point for sale. Unless he's got like a dodgy leg.
No, I could play James Garner on a dodgy leg over what we're seeing in our midfield at the moment. But in regards to that list, I do want to wrap up on that. I'm sure everyone did see it. Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville sort of listed Man United's big signings, not the youth players, but the major signings post-Fergie. And they listed them in 3 categories. They had green, amber, and red. The red were failed signings and not value for money. Amber were sort of mixed, sort of a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, sort of the jury is out. And green were value for money, successful signings. Post-Fergie, they had 2 successful signings, Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Bruno Fernandes. Now, Bruno Fernandes, they even put the caveat saying, well, at the moment it's going a little bit south, but ultimately the numbers he did provide, you can't hide away what he did do when he did arrive. So he goes into the value for money. He literally carried United by himself. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, forget that second kind of season where he came back after his injury. First season, he did exactly what was needed of him. It's hard to disagree. Now, there's a few people in the red. I thought Juan Mata shouldn't have been. Now, is that my bias? I don't think he should have been in the red. Now, maybe you could make a case that he was a record signing. Did he live up to what a record signing should provide? Potentially not. But in regards to his contribution to United, I think he's very good. I think Daley Blind was hard done by not to be a little bit higher on that list. But just your thoughts on it, because it definitely did create a little bit of controversy.
I think with some of them, they were thinking as well in terms of how they were sold. I think Daley Blind was probably the harshest one on that list because, in essence, I didn't think he was a bad signing for United. I just think we sold him too quickly. We didn't give him the chance. Same with Ander Herrera. I think, we could have easily catered to Herrera's demands and given him another 2 years. Because I think who's coming off one of his best seasons for United. Fellaini as well, I thought was a little bit harsh at the time. He probably said, for the first 2 years.
Did they put him in the red?
Yeah, I'd probably say one of our worst signs.
Well, we did this one of our first podcasts we did back when we did an audio podcast. And remember, our audio podcast, our match reviews are still all going up on our audio only platform. So if you are do like a match review sort of on your way to work, audio only, make sure you check us out on Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes. All our match reviews are still going on, still going up on those platforms. So please do check that out. But in regards to that, one of our first podcasts we did at the pub was looking back at the last decade, 2010 to 2020, and put in a starting 11 together of the best players of the decade. And I made a very strong case that Marouane Fellaini should have been in there in regards to his contribution over a prolonged period of time. He was there for a while. He was there from 2013 to, 2018, 2019. So he's there for a long period. And in regards to big goals and big moments, over that decade, not many players stood up more than Fellaini, as bad as he was at times and as far from a Manchester United player as he was. And I wasn't a huge fan of him. If you look at what he did do compared to other people on that list, he actually did quite well, in my opinion.
Yeah, look, I think it was unfair. I think he was an integral part, especially Mourinho's first season of winning trophies, big part of that Europa League campaign. Obviously, the League Cup and the FA Cup as well. The season before with Van Gaal. He really developed himself into sort of what he was, which was a massive fridge, but he was scoring important goals. I'd say, definitely a bit harsh. And if so, I think a few of the red players definitely could have warranted amber. For how bad Lukaku was, I thought he had a very good first season for us at United. Lukaku, yeah. I didn't think he was that bad. But there were some of those players absolutely deserve where they are. I mean, Harry Maguire at the moment, they actually put him as amber. But I just don't think how you can justify how that's been a success.
Well, there's a lot like a Bruno and a Harry Maguire. Sort of when they came in, you could put amber to potentially green. The mood at the moment, the way it is sort of on the slide, you can understand why they're on the trajectory to unfortunately sliding towards the red category.
Well, Harry Maguire is an amber at the moment.
Oh, was he? Okay, yeah. Well, if his first yeah, for the mood at the moment,
I'm not one of the ones that slag Maguire every week. I know how bad he has been, but
this season, I think,
I don't think he's been a good signing. So I don't think he's warranted the money we paid for him. Which
that's a huge thing in regards to our views of signings in regards to what they're doing on the pitch. A huge thing in evaluating a transfer is unfortunately the money spent, and that's never on the player. How much they're paid, how much we paid for them isn't on the player, but we do use it, and rightly so. I do it as well. It's a very natural thing to do, but unfairly given at times. But just as we wrap up, just one or two comments here. Viking, plot twist, all our deals have already been confirmed. However, the media and YouTube make much more money by dragging out transfer for months like literal soap opera storylines. While I think that's very tongue-in-cheek, you can definitely see things like that happening in terms of clubs happy to sort of prolong deals and sort of happy to sort of milk them. Now, I don't think any deals are done and they're waiting for a deadline day to just say, yep, we'll tick it and get it done, because the football world simply doesn't work like that. However, it wouldn't shock you. I still think in regards to potentially Man United to getting players like Alessandro Martinez or a Malacia. Malacia did come on the tour. I mean, Eriksen and Alessandro Martinez, I think potentially social media things in regards to them prevented them coming on the tour. Now, is that the case? I'm not sure. Maybe there are visa issues. Who knows? But unfortunately, I think the way a club like Man United is run, that statement from Viking there is unfortunately potentially close to the truth, which is horrifying in my opinion. Just as we wrap up here, Chris, stand up, Tom, give us a look at that jacket. Is it a sign Messi is coming off to Twitter to make up a story? It is an Argentina jacket. It was Argentina before a World Cup. I think I got this one before. Actually, I think my wife got it for me. It was the 2010 World Cup or potentially 2014 World Cup. I always have a soft spot for Argentina before a World Cup. They're always my tip. No matter what they're doing before a World Cup, I'll say it in December, Argentina are going to win the World Cup. Now, at the moment, in regards to the Ronaldo-Messi debate, I'll probably lean a little bit more towards Portugal, hopefully. But, maybe for Lisandro Martinez. Because I think Lisandro Martinez has been, and it's always going to happen, Josh. He's always going to be a little bit of a scapegoat. He's a very easy target for the media. I think Man United fans will. Unfortunately, there will be a section. Unfortunately, I think we'll turn on him if someone wins a header against him. If Darwin Núñez definitely won't be heading anyone, Darwin Núñez, next week. But if he does lose a header, he's going to be a scapegoat. I think, unfortunately, fans will turn on him. But I think he's one of those players now, very early in his days. We'll have to evaluate him in a year or two's time. But Man United fans will get behind because he's Erik ten Hag's man. He obviously will give his all from what we've seen at the moment, what we've seen at Ajax. So I think it's not about times. I think we are at the moment, but we have to get behind Martinez because he is going to be public enemy number one in regards to the media. They will target him, and he will need our support. So yeah, this is for Lisandro Martinez, let's call it.
Yeah, look, you know what our fans are like. It only takes a couple of games, and we're on 2 games at the moment. But yeah, look, I'm hoping that it could be a different story. We've got a relegation clash against Liverpool at the weekend, and
well, the last time we lost our first 2 games of the season. A bit of trivia for you.
What's that? Sorry.
The last time, we lost our first 2 games of the Premier League season.
The Premier League season. Our first 2 games.
Yeah. It's a tough one for trivia. The first ever season.
Well, the last time we lost our first 2 games?
Yeah. So opening day and the second day. The last time we did that was the first season of the Premier League.
Oh, was it?
Went on to win it. So as a lot of people in the live chat do already know, 21 is very likely on its way. But we do have a 6-pointer relegation battle to deal with against Liverpool next Tuesday morning. Yeah, Adam here saying 1992. I think I might be wrong in that stat from what I have heard and sort of looking back over the years trying to think. I have a feeling that is correct, the 92-93 season. Obviously losing to Sheffield United. I think Southampton might have been our first win, and obviously Southampton, I think that was our 3rd game potentially, and I think Southampton is coming up. Obviously, hopefully we'll get a win against Liverpool, but who knows, Southampton might be our first win this time. And as I said, 21 is coming. But George here saying, Tom, can we get a countdown clock when the window closes in the live stream video? Well, make sure you are subscribed because we'll have to look at when the deadline actually closes. But if I'm off work and if the sort of clock's aligned sort of thing, we definitely will be going live on deadline day because even if we sign in everyone or sign in no one, Man United will be dominating the headlines in those last hours. So if the stars align, we will definitely be going live on deadline day and just sort of chatting nonsense as we do. But Josh, always a pleasure as always, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Always. And again, appreciate everyone in the live chat tonight. It was really good. A lot of different opinions and obviously the big subject with Ronaldo. And I understand both sides of the opinion on Ronaldo. And unfortunately, and I'll put this on Ronaldo, it's the one thing I do direct criticism at him towards, it's going to drag on. And unfortunately, it's dragging on because of Ronaldo. So unfortunately, that is going to be the case for the next couple of weeks. But it will be a very interesting. Who knows? Is he going to sit on the couch with like Oprah sort of thing and do a tell-all interview? I think who knows how it is going to unfold. But I'm sure the world and more importantly, Man United fans will be tuned in for that. But make sure. I'm not sure when we'll be back next live on the pubcast. Might be a couple of days. Maybe we're back on the weekend just before the Premier League starts. Maybe a bit of a Saturday night live sort of stream and just sort of talk the upcoming Premier League fixtures and the Liverpool match, bit of a preview. So do join us on Saturday night most likely. And I have heard a rumour, Josh, it hasn't been confirmed, but I have heard a rumour that Larry's potentially on his way back to Australia. So he could be making a return to the pubcast in the near future.
I mean, look, exciting times for Larry. I know he's not had the best trip to Manchester, but look, it's been a long time since he's been there, so I'm sure he's appreciated it going to a game anyway. Speaking of Old Trafford, I think a good picture as well came up today. They finally painted the South Stand.
I saw had the 2 people in the cherry picker painting, and then they had that photo and they had a zoomed in photo. And when they zoomed in on the photo, the 2 workers had Fred and McTominay on the back of their shirts. It was funny. It definitely tickled me, that one. But yeah, I do again appreciate everyone's opinions in the live chat. Make sure you do leave a like on the video on your way out. And as I said, very likely Saturday night, just before the Premier League starts, we might grab a beer or 2 and chat all things football and United. So we'll chat to you then. Until then, keep safe and have a good one. Cheers.
Cheers.